Hey, thanks for listening. Please subscribe to our newsletter at theproductporch.com for notifications on the latest episodes and exclusive content. You say, Todd, your job and bonus is based on either you have to achieve X million dollars or you have to build 100 products in 3 years. Guess which one I'd pick?
The 100 products in 3 years.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's easier.
Because you control it.
Piece of cake.
Yeah.
I'll just make one a week for 2 years and be done.
Right.
Welcome to the Product Porch with Todd Blackiere, Ryan Cantwell, and me, Joe Golly. Today on the Porch, we justify our product team's very existence by answering the question stakeholders ask. Why do we need a product manager? Now settle in, folks, because on the Product Porch, every topic is a product topic. Gentlemen, welcome back. I think we have to start this podcast by congratulating Todd and his New York Knicks.
Yeah, so Todd got to gloat over you when the Knicks beat the Hawks. He then got to gloat over me when they beat the Cavaliers. And then they get to win the championship. So congratulations, Todd.
And I'll say this. I think I may have angered Todd slightly because when the Hawks won game one, I sent a Hawks logo and Todd's response was, really? And I was like, okay, maybe too soon, too soon. Maybe it was because I did that the Knicks ended up winning. They ended up just running the table.
I just held on to it. I thought, I'm not going to say anything. I'll just wait.
Yeah. Actions speak louder than words. All right. So speaking of actions being louder than words, maybe that's a good transition. So Ryan and I, we were talking last week, and I think anyone that's been in our world, we know cloud code is out. And in a lot of organizations, engineering, they're shipping faster than ever. And somewhere in a boardroom this week, someone asked the question, do we still need product? Ryan, Todd, have you heard this question in your world? And what's your gut reaction to that?
So I would say it's not just because of cloud code and it's not just in boardrooms. I bet there are two engineers at a water cooler or the coffee machine saying, why do we need this product guy? It's happening everywhere.
Todd, how about you? Are you same thing?
Well, I'm not, I got to be honest, I'm not dealing with that problem, but I think that problem is prevalent. I think it's common. I actually don't find that pushback coming from the engineering side as much as I think it comes from, to your point, the senior leadership side that sometimes believes anyone can build product now. But then it begs the question, is building product the real challenge? I would say building product has never been the chiefest of challenges.
No. But Todd, you said it's not your problem right now, but you have had this problem before.
Yeah, what I found over and over again in my career, I don't know that anyone's ever directly asked me why we need product or do we need product. I don't usually find that. What I usually find is a misunderstanding of the value of product, the misunderstanding of what the product function is supposed to bring to the company.
Correct.
That's what I find most common. And where I find that, and the downstream problems of that tend to be, what we're asked to do, how we're measured. I've shared conversations I've had with leadership before that's counting features, things like that. And so that's been more of my experience. It's not so much been do we need product as much as it's been just misunderstanding what product is for and, treating product managers like waiters.
I think that's really fair. And as I reflect on my experiences, I could probably characterize them similarly to a misunderstanding. I'll just share a quick story with you guys what I mean by that how that misunderstanding has shown up. Where I was in a meeting with a customer. They had come to visit our location, wanted a tour, that we were giving them the treatment, and they want to stick them in front of the product manager. So I come in, I sit down in the meeting room table, and next to me is their customer success representative that they work with all the time on one side, and on the other side is their salesperson that they work with all the time. I'm introducing myself, and the customer support representative looks at the client or customer and says, he's the fixer. You need anything done? He's the guy. And that really made me uncomfortable because that just showed me right away that they have a fundamental misunderstanding of what product is supposed to do.
What's ironic about that is I've experienced the same thing. I've definitely been introduced in the wrong way, similar ways. Like, this is the guy who builds our product. This is the guy who makes our stuff, comes up with the ideas, all this kind of random stuff that's just not what I actually do. But what's ironic about this is if I was the guy who did the thing they defined, like if product management worked the way I hear people explain it, I would say, you do not need a product function. What a giant waste of money. If really what you think product does is leadership tells them what to build, or a salesperson tells them what they heard in the most recent, sales meeting, and then they just go and they tell the engineer to build that thing they just heard about, you're paying someone a salary for this? You don't need that.
So can I go back? Why is this question why are we even asking this question again? Like, I feel like we go through cycles. Like in the evolution of product management, there are these cycles that we go through. Why is this question even being asked now? Like, what do you think is driving it?
Well, personally, I don't think much has changed.
Right.
So let me define this. So for the longest time, I think we misunderstood products as Ryan's defined, explained the wrong way, what we do, expressed as a project management kind of a job, or a message carrier kind of a job. I think that's been the same for the longest time. And unfortunately, because of that definition and description and positioning in someone's head, it's kind of like when you position a product. We talk about this all the time. When you positioning is not something you do to a product. It's something that happens in someone's head.
Perception.
They frame you in some way in their mind. So how products for the longest time has been positioned in a lot of people's brains, not actually taking the time to engage and understand the role, unfortunately learning from a lot of bad examples. Because of that, they measure us based on the wrong measurements. Now, one of those measurements is how fast can you deliver things we want? Or how much stuff can you deliver? Joe, give me 50 more stuff. Ryan, give it to me 3 times faster.
Yeah.
But because that's their framing in their brain and their only measurement, now you bring in agentic AI. Now you're bringing in Claude Code and other agentic tools, and building is so much simpler and so much more accessible to many people. Now, if you're measuring it just on build more stuff and give it to me faster, then your question is, why do I have this person who seems to ask questions and have ceremonies and do these things? By the way, we got to kill the word ceremony. We have got to stop using that word.
100%.
But they do all these things that just seem to be slower, and they seem to give me less stuff. Why would I want that person?
So, all right. So we know why the question's being asked, right? Because people are seeing the magic that comes out of using Claude. They're seeing people going into the code, playing around with it. Product managers are going in, they're quickly prototyping, but it's not a high fidelity prototype. Like, you're developing something that is getting closer to reality versus fiction, right? I think that was a delineation, right? It was like, well, here's a mock-up, here's a clickable mock, here's something in balsamic, but we're still a long ways from actually building something. Whereas today, it's like, hey, you see this clickable mock-up? This is actually real code. We're not that far away from actually execution of this.
Depending on the complexity of your code base and the complexity of your industry, yeah, you could build a fully functioning product that is viable within a week or less, depending on the scenario. A day, 2 days, very viable.
And I think, to use a word that Marty Kagan uses, that's the theatrics that's happening right now in the product world as it relates to generative AI tooling, right? It's like there's all this excitement around being able to deliver faster. Like, to your point, Todd, like, it sounds really exciting.
Just this morning. So here we are talking, guys, just this morning, Todd, as you were talking, I had a very senior leader at a very big organization say the words, how do I decouple headcount from revenue growth?
Can you elaborate on that, Ryan?
Meaning, I want to continue growing revenue without having to add more people, so give me more AI, please.
Well, what's interesting about that? There's a new measurement that's becoming really common now. And I mean, it's been common in the past, but it's being accelerated. And that is revenue per employee. And I can't remember what the benchmark used to be, but it's quickly moving towards about $1 million. And that can vary by industry. But I share that to say, this is the way that a lot of PE firms now are measuring how successful a business is operating, their revenue per headcount.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess, Todd, pulling it full circle back to where you started was, if building is no longer the bottleneck, does product become the new bottleneck? Or are we looked at that way, and that's why we're having a troublesome time justifying ourselves?
Well, I think that's true. I think we are seen as a bottleneck in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where, if we want to explain the value of product and what we do, this is where we have to start. So I had a conversation with, I'm going to say something inflammatory and then I'll explain it. But I had a conversation with my CEO today, and I checked with my CTO just to make sure he's on the same page. He said, yes, I agree. I told him, I said, look, coding is the easiest part. Building products is now the easiest thing. And I told them, if you give me two options, you say, Todd, your job and bonus is based on either you have to achieve X million dollars in 2.5 years or 3 years, or you have to build 100 products in 3 years. Guess which one I'd pick?
The 100 products in 3 years.
Yeah.
Why? Why would I pick that?
Because it's easier.
Because you control it.
Piece of cake.
Yeah.
Piece of cake. I'll just make one a week for 2 years and be done.
Right.
It's a piece of cake, but it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. I mean, here Melissa Perry still talking about that, saying how the build trap has never been more prevalent than it is today. It's never been a bigger risk. The problem has always been the same problem. How do we identify the right problem to solve? How do we find the right time to solve that problem in a unique way? How do we communicate the message of this thing in the right way so that we can collect the dollars back for selling it? And you know what? There's been lots of products that have been good ideas solving real problems that haven't made money because they haven't figured out how to message it, how to communicate it, how to sell it, how to make it simple to understand and to purchase and make that buying decision so simple to make. This is still the biggest problem, and with more noise than ever. There's stuff, my team this week, we had an agentic day as a product team, and our UX designer built basically her own Monday. It's like her personal Monday.com. Why?
Yeah.
It's fit for purpose for her. And she just built it during her agentic day. Now, is it something she's going to go sell or what? No, she's not going to do that, but it does exactly what she needs. This is going to be something that comes up with people today. Should I go buy that? Should I go buy this other thing? Or you know what? Should I just jump in code, see if I can build something for myself?
Build it myself.
So that means it's going to get harder to place a product into a market and get a win. Correctly positioning, placing, and pushing behind it. And I think the mistake there is we often think of that as a product manager's job or a product team's job, and it's not. It's the whole company's job led by the product function. And building it is like this tiny little piece of the puzzle.
So I'm going to do my best impersonation of Todd. I want to play a game. I'm going to play a game. Let's play a game. I thought of you, Todd. This is like my homage to Todd. Got the Knicks orange on today. You know,
I love this. It's a great day.
I know it is. It's like she's Todd Day. It's like we're going to have our own parade. All right. So I want to walk through a list of tasks, right? And the idea is like perception of what product does versus what it actually is. I'm going to play the role of a leader.
Okay.
Who maybe has a misperception of product, and tell me who owns this. So let's do the first one. I'm going to give you guys the softball one, right? Getting projects done on time. Is that product? Who is that?
Project.
Triggering us. Well, I will say this. Everyone is accountable for getting stuff done on time.
True.
But this should not be anywhere near the top of the list defining a product manager role. It belongs on a product manager role's definition of their job as much as it does an HR director.
Yep.
Okay. So we're saying it's like the PMO, like the project management office. Okay. All right. Here's a tricky one. Managing a team of engineers.
No.
You're shaking your head. Why are you saying no, Todd? Come on.
I don't
why are you
think
saying
it's
no?
tricky. You know who manages engineers? Engineering managers. That's who manages the engineers.
Okay.
They're our teammates. We work with them. We don't manage them.
Okay. So here's one that's a little near to my heart because it's a tricky one. Follow processes and fill out business cases.
Fill out business cases. I think a lot of people perceive that, oh, that's what product managers do. We just need a product manager to build a stronger business case and fill out the template that we have, and everything will be fine. But no, it's about the inputs to the business case that the product manager does, not the business case itself.
You got it.
And a great business case should be built with the team.
Yes.
right.
So this is that thing. We've talked about this before. I tell my team this all the time. We happen to be building multiple business cases right now as a team. And one thing I remind them of all the time is you are an investigator. You're a detective first.
Yeah.
And you're gathering the data and the clues and you're finding it all out. And you want to work with the team to put together the picture. But once you've put that together and you believe this tells a story that we should do this, you are now a cheerleader. You switch seats. You're no longer investigating. You are, because you need, the only way your bet pays off, has a chance of paying off, is if everyone's behind you. Marketing, sales, customer success. You need everyone believing in this thing. And you cannot be investigator anymore, detective. You got to be cheerleader. So to that point, that's done. Business cases are done as a team, not as an individual.
Yep.
I love it.
And we're an input as part of that team to the business case.
Love it.
Yep.
All right. So you said sales. Build what sales wants. All of us have dealt with that.
I think like every product manager cringes a little bit when we hear that because I was told once, Ryan, you're the chief no officer. And it was by a salesperson.
Joe designed this game to trigger us, Ryan. That's what he did.
I know.
He's like,
I'm
just going to put the things that are just going to make Todd and Ryan lose their mind.
I'm trying. You know, I'm on a roll today. I'm really proud of myself, actually. I'm feeling pretty good. Like, I'm feeling spicy. Spicy.
We are emotionally engaged. We are emotionally engaged in this conversation.
That's right. Emotionally engaged.
All right. Here's a tricky one.
But hold on. I don't
No. All right. Sorry. Premature. Go ahead, Ryan.
That's okay. Because you said do what sales wants. We have talked about this at length. We do not just say, what do you want? And then say, okay, we'll give you that. That's the order taking, like that kind of philosophy and not product. I mean, nobody should do that.
Well, and okay. So we have a lot of people that I work with that are in B2B. Right. So they manage internal products. So I want to flip this a little bit and say, if you're not dealing with sales, you're dealing with your business partners. And so it's the same. It's similar to responding to a business stakeholder's asks, right? Or their requests. It's the same thing. It's in terms of we're not just going to react to what our business partners are asking us to build. So this train of thought applies whether you have an externally facing product or you have an internally facing product. I feel like I have to say that
still applies
just in this
Joe.
Conversation.
So let me draw the definition, try to be simple and clear. We may be titled a product manager, but not behaving like a product manager if we are just order taking. Tell me what you want, I will do that. We start behaving like a true product manager when we ask why. Why are they asking for that? And we exercise curiosity and uncover what lies beneath. That's what we do.
Just this week, this happened to me again. I had something escalated at the company because we have a onboarding large client who requested this thing and my team took it and handled it. And then they escalated it to me and I saw it. And right away, I read the problem. I understood it. And then as I thought about it for a minute, I was like, wait a second. And I reread the problem and the problem wasn't a problem. The problem was a solution. But why are we doing this? And they're like, we don't know because no one knows. That was my Jerry Seinfeld impression, I guess.
That was good.
No one knows. Why doesn't anyone know? Anyway, I didn't know that was in my bag. I kind of feel good about that.
That was pretty good. Todd.
Thank you. But just it happened again. Something was escalated. And I don't see these requests very often. I don't see the detail. And yet I read it, went away, looked back and said, solution. That's most of the time how things are written. And so we become interpreters. We become investigators. We have to do it. And we got to accept the fact, I know I'm a tangenting, but we should accept the fact that people haven't been trained like we have. And people don't think the way we do. So the way that we ask why, just accept the fact that no one else is doing that. And that's an important role we play in an organization.
Joe, do you have more?
I have 3 left.
3. Okay,
let's go.
Let's
All right,
quick round, and then I have something.
It's going to be a rapid fire because I want to get to the next segment here. Stay in budget.
Project.
It's a key responsibility of project management. Product management, though, needs to know the budget and understand it. No, I can't walk away and say I have no ownership.
Trade-offs.
That's right. Yeah.
There's trade-offs. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Here's a tricky one. Ensuring quality.
Okay, quality can be defined many different ways, and I'm not going to make you go through the whole list, Joe. But I'm going to use the traditional definition of like QA, QC, bug detection, like those kinds of things.
That's where I'm. Let's go simple. What do you think about that one?
No.
We have a small role in quality.
Maybe with acceptance criteria that we write.
Acceptance criteria that we write and that we test. We should be on the back end testing it, making sure we're the right people in the loop.
Yeah, we're not the one pushing the button saying, yes, this is what the user would want. No, we need a user to tell us if that's what they would want, not us.
All right, I like that. All right, last one, fix customer complaints. We mentioned it at the beginning, fixing customer complaints.
I have been treated this way before as somebody on the escalation path for seemingly everything. Well, you've got manager in your title. You should be doing it. It's like, oh my God. Like, I don't need to call the supplier for the component of my thing and complain to them about the back order supply chain. Like,
and by the way, I assume that was a man saying that to you because you just did the impression that all women do when they talk about their husband. You ever notice that? Why does every woman's husband talk like that?
Well, you said it was a double.
All right. Let's make sure we don't anger our wives if they just so happen to listen to this.
I guarantee Molly does not listen to this.
Mary loves that joke. Mary loves that joke. I've said it before. Okay. But that's how all women talk about their husband. Like, I don't talk like that.
We're not apes. All right.
We're not.
So the punchline, right? I was telling this to a coworker today because I was mentioning to her that we're talking about this. I said, all the things that I just talked about, if we're doing all of that, you haven't built a product org. I told her, I said, you've built an expensive execution wrapper around engineering.
Yeah.
Right?
That's well said.
Yes. Yep. AI can do that a lot cheaper.
Hey, but that wrapper dresses nicer and knows how to speak really well.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So we talked about the things that are not product, right? So if those things that I just talked about isn't the job, what is the job? And this is where I want to lead into you guys. I'm loving like the last few episodes. You guys have come up with these crazy analogies. I think I was trying to explain to my daughter the Shakespeare on a pedestal thing with the monkey. I was still, or maybe I got the monkey and Shakespeare mix up. Anyways,
that's right.
We mentioned the hammer analogy, right? You guys have mentioned to me the hammer. Can someone just from my own like knowledge remind me again what you mean by the hammer analogy as it relates to like how a product manager should be treated within an organization?
And I'm going to let Todd do it because it's his analogy, but everyone's probably thinking like, oh, he's going to say that when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And that's not what he means. So buckle in, folks.
No, what I was saying is, you imagine this, right? We're going outside and we're trying to cut a tree branch with the hammer. We're just banging on the tree branch and we can't cut it. And then someone comes in and they say, hey, I heard that they invented the chainsaw. And so now we can cut the branch with the chainsaw. We don't need a hammer anymore. That doesn't need to be in our toolbox. No, wait a second. First off, before the chainsaw, we had saws. We've always been using the wrong tool. And secondly, you're measuring the hammer the wrong way. It belongs in our toolbox, but it belongs for hammering nails, not for cutting branches.
That's right.
In that metaphor, we are the hammer.
Say that again.
We
are the hammer.
We are the hammer.
We're often being used to try to cut branches instead of trying to hammer nails. And then people say, maybe we don't need the hammer.
Yeah.
Because engineers can code faster. Right. Well, great. We're not supposed to be coding anyway.
So this is, I think, the feature factory trap, right? When product is measured by things like velocity, tickets closed, features shipped, we're measuring the wrong thing, right? And I think going back to the word theatrics, like Marty Kagan, I think he said it best, right? And I was just kind of doing some research. It's like the PM who writes tickets in this world of AI is the one who's at risk. The PM who decides what's worth solving is going to have a nice long career, or is in a more strategic spot, or that's the value that we bring. Is that fair?
I agree. Let's talk about how hard this is for a second.
Okay, good.
Let's talk about it, because we talked a lot about what we don't do. And I agree with Marty Kagan. Your job is to define, we say it all the time on the porch, connect customer value to business outcomes, right? So you need to move the business forward by solving for the customer. So you need to figure out the right thing to build now. And when you can build anything, that pressure actually increases on you. You think it would decrease because now, why don't we'll make 10 bets instead of 2 because we can build so much faster. Except every bet you make needs to be supported by an entire operational arm. So when you talk about building new product, we're going to bring up net new product or maybe an add-on feature, anything where we're actually trying to move that business outcome forward. Every choice you make is assuming everything you choose to build, you're assuming you are going to teach sales how to sell it. You're going to have to define value prop and key messaging and teach marketing how to build pipeline around it. You're assuming you're going to teach customer success how to speak to it, understand it, help people with it, and support to be able to support it. Everything that you do comes with this blast radius of stuff around it. So you have this responsibility. You got this pressure on you. Do it faster. And you know what? You do have to do it faster. I'm not going to tell everyone that you don't have to. You do. You have to, what they talked about with the monkey, you got to figure out the no as fast as possible because product managers ultimately are responsible to get yes. I tell my product managers all the time, Your main value is bringing the right data to help enable us to make the right decisions. But if a product manager spends 6 months saying, no, don't build that, don't build that, don't build that, don't build that, what value are they bringing to us? At some point, you're like, we have to do something. We can't just not do anything. So the best product manager is someone who knows how to rigorously, thoughtfully, in a very methodical manner, get through the no's to find the yeses. So we're placing the right bet, and then get the whole company behind it to give that bet the best chance it has to succeed.
But how do we get our stakeholders to understand that when they don't? And they haven't gone through a cycle yet or really experienced it before.
Ryan, you kick them.
Okay. Kick in the shins.
Side note, we don't promote violence in any way, shape, or form. Todd, elaborate. What do we do? It's a fair question, right? It's like, and I think this is a general frustration all of us have dealt with. We've been through the training. We've lived it for however many years. Now we're trying to explain to someone that hasn't been living it, that hasn't gone through the training, that hasn't had to deal with some of the, like, how do we quickly get others in our organization to change the way they perceive the value of product? And I know it's not a quick fix, but how do we do it?
Well, I think someone said before, the first step to solving a problem is admitting you have a problem. So look, the first step here is you need to recognize what good product management looks like versus bad. And good product management is a harder road. So I will say this, that first step is meaningful. I've said it before. I've put it on LinkedIn. I'll continue saying this. You talked about the ticket monkeys, right? Just good at writing stories. Their job's going to go away. I want to believe that. I continue to see people making long careers off just doing what their boss says. There's usually a path to success just doing what your boss says. So the first thing you have to say is, I'm going to take the rocky path, the harder path. I'm going to go do that, and it's going to require more of me. If you don't have that conviction, you're not going anywhere. Once you've made that decision to take the rocky or harder path, then what you need to start doing is holding yourself accountable to how you should be measured. That's hard because in your organization, you're being asked to count your feature deliveries, count your sprint velocity, count your number of stories, count your number of features, right? And then what you have to yourself decide is, okay, I'm going to do that because I'm being told to, but I'm going to start creating the value metrics. I'm going to start defining the business outcomes. And along that path, you're going to have some disappointment. You're going to have some disappointment as you begin to define meaningful value and only to find that we pivoted too fast for me to actually get there. It's going to happen. But I'm going to stop there because I said step 1 and step 2. Step 1, be willing to take the harder path. Step 2, you got to start putting those requirements on yourself, even if your leadership team is asking that of you. Any thoughts on that or any other steps? Ryan has a step 3.
Go ahead, Ryan. Guys got 2.
I've got a step 3. Know your audience. You have to know what they care about to make sure they see you care about it too. So this is another thing that happened to me today. I had a very busy day, guys. Literally, a peer of mine, leader at the company I work for, was coming in hot. Like, product, this is you. This is all you. And I had to slow them down and say, we are on the same page here. We are actually working towards the same end. I don't know what's going on. Like, to show them that I am not fighting against you. We are working together in the same direction. I care about what you care about too. And here's how. I just do it differently. So I think know your audience. That's step 3.
I love that. Can I get a step 3B to that?
Please.
I love this empathizing with them. Because the other thing you have to do is empathize with where they're at. So look, when I first came into BetterRx, I was the first product hire. I was excited to be that here. We've been building products for years, had sales team, CX, had a well-functioning operational team, but they didn't have a real product team. And when I came in, the first thought was, Todd is going to work through this list of things that we think should be in the product, and he's going to make that happen in a very systematized way. And he's going to prioritize this list of things. That's reasonable. Given our description of what we've heard people define product as, that's a reasonable understanding of product. Yeah. It's not how we would define it, though. And so you have to understand who you're working with and what their perspective is. When you're coming into an organization, you're early on. You're especially when you're in that situation where you're one of the first people in product, or maybe you're the first leader in product. A lot of times that happens. They have product managers who've kind of been project managers doing product, and then eventually they hire a leader, and this leader now has to shift their role. When you come in that situation, you got to recognize where you're starting from, and you got to realize you're not going to jump from from level 1 to level 5.
That's right.
You gotta define what increment 1 is, what that first step to level 2 looks like.
I have a step 4.
Cool.
Find a problem and solve it for the business. So it's like show the leaders that are around you. What is our shared problem here? Maybe historically we've had trouble delayed launches or products that don't resonate with the audience or like the list goes on. But if we can all agree, everybody, that we can own this problem and we all need to approach it from our respective area. Because I think this is just something I want to caution people about. Because I'm curious just to hear quickly from you guys if you've experienced this before too. People want to very quickly hide behind the product person and point at them and say, no, product problem. I use the voice again, Todd. Product, it's them. So sometimes that's true. Other times it's like, we're not the only one. I am working in that direction just because, Todd, would you call it the blast radius? Like it's not just us at the epicenter controlling everything. That's not who we're supposed to be. We need to see that, like, yeah, I care about that just as much as you. Let's make sure we have a shared problem and we each tackle it in our own way. You go high, I go low. This is a geometric problem to have when you're in that situation. And the reason it is because you're not just dealing with a senior leadership team who doesn't understand it. Right.
So if this has been the way the company has operated, that means engineering is used to getting a ticket and building a thing and spitting it out. Right? Because that's the way we've just been measured on velocity and delivery. They're just used to doing that. They wouldn't understand why you would challenge them to solve a problem. They may not understand why you want them to be considerate about what's to the left and to the right of what they're doing, not just what's in front of them. You're going to have stakeholders, support team, sales team, who are used to just telling you the problem and expecting you to build a solution. They're not going to be used to someone who is thoughtfully prioritizing based on value. And to your point earlier, Ryan, saying no sometimes because the ROI isn't there. So that's what's really challenging is, using a Dean metaphor, when you're parachuted, when you parachute down into the middle of the warfare here, you're not just dealing with a senior leadership misunderstanding. You are dealing with a stakeholder misunderstanding. You are dealing with engineering team misunderstanding. And one of the benefits I had coming into BetterRx was I got to define how we operated. And then I got to build my team within that operating model. That's a benefit most people don't have. Most of the time, you're working with people who may not want to change, because my job was very easy when I just did the thing in front of me and handed it to the next person. Now you are asking me to be responsible for ROI. You're making it harder. You're making my job harder.
And then that ties into one of my favorite topics, which is change management. It's not like you're just going to go in tomorrow and just communicate, well, this is the way we're going to work. Like, you have to find something that matters, that's meaningful. And so, like, to Ryan's point, finding a problem and solving it, like showing the value of this way of thinking and how it's going to help move us in a direction that makes more sense for the organization. Let's close the loop on all this. We covered a lot. And I want to bring it back to how we even started the conversation, bringing it back to AI, right? Again, the Claude Code question. And I think I had written down this phrase on my notebook, and it said, Claude Code removes execution friction, not thinking friction, right? I mean, I think that's what it comes, like, just even like close the loop or put the cherry on top of what you're saying. It's still the thinking piece of it.
So yes. So when I was at a former company, I helped build this thing. I don't know, you guys may have heard of it before, called it the product blueprint.
Oh,
I've never heard of that.
That's a great idea.
Ryan, have you ever heard of this?
No.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously, we helped create this when we were at Product Side. I think we primary authors of that. Okay, we use it at our company. That was a meaningful tool to help my CEO. I was able to express to him the full world of product management, not just the buildy part. And in doing that, I helped him see where we create the most value. If you would actually draw for people what product management looks like end to end and how small the development part is in the big scheme of everything, they begin to understand that this AI Claude Code thing doesn't actually do much for the product manager job.
That's right. And I think where we're seeing most of the direction going, it's harder to teach an engineer business skills than a product manager how to use AI to code things because we've taken the need for.
You're always going to need an SRE, and I don't want to be that.
Yeah, that's
SRE.
true. That is true.
You're going to need an engineer who's responsible for the reliability and the infrastructure between the systems, right?
Yeah, because if you're just building and trying to push things into production and not managing that, it's a recipe for future disaster, potentially. Whether it's compliance or something goes catastrophically wrong, or you accidentally delete your entire code base, any of those things.
All right. So key takeaways.
We finish these episodes. I think often I feel like we have made product sound horrible. It's a struggle. It is a struggle, but I think the work that we do is still, it's crazy to me after decades and decades of a role existing that it's still so misunderstood. And we cannot take that for granted. We have to keep it simple. We have to have people understand the value that we bring to the organization. How do you call it? The buildy part, beyond the buildy part. Don't take it for granted. That's my takeaway.
So I actually have a little homework for anyone that's listening to this. Go ask your leadership what they think product is responsible for.
I love that, Joe.
I want you to write it down, and then I want you to compare it to what you think you're responsible for. And that gap is your work.
There you go.
I think it's going to depend. I think it's
beautiful. Joe, you could write like a Valentine's Day card with that on it. Like.
Yeah. I'm going to go work for Hallmark for product.
Right.
You know what's funny? Here's my key takeaway. How are you supposed to successfully introduce yourself to other people when you don't know yourself? I tell my children this, or teenagers, and they're thinking about, they're dating and thinking about future. And I told them, you cannot consider getting married until you know who you are. You can't find who the next person, the person you're supposed to be with is if you don't know who you are. We have, as product practitioners, grossly misunderstood ourselves. And we shouldn't be upset at the fact that people don't understand us. We need a reconciliation.
You guys made me look bad in that one. Both of your takeaways were so much better than mine.
Are we scoring them now? I didn't think this was the thing we're doing.
Oh, Joe, are you ready? It was like I was the Atlanta Hawks and you guys were the Knicks.
Oh my God. Stop. Hey, at least the Hawks won a couple of games against the Knicks. I don't even know if the Cavaliers showed up in that series. So I'm just saying.
I know.
Anyways, today is brought to you by the New York Knickerbockers of the National Basketball Association and the Tyler Kolek Fan Club, which is the only reason why anyone in the Gallard household was watching the NBA Finals. All right, gentlemen. As always, it's good seeing you guys. Stay out of trouble, and I'll see you back on the porch.
All right, see you, Joe. See you, Ryan.
See you guys.
Bye, guys. All right, Joe. I'll root for the Braves. Thank you for joining us on the Product Porch. We release new episodes every 2 weeks. You can also find us on LinkedIn for more content. We offer a special thank you to AJ and Jack Block here for the music. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts of this podcast are their own and do not represent nor necessarily reflect those of their employer.